President, please be seated. Court officer, please answer the last civil party together with TPO staff into the courtroom. President, good morning, Madam Civil Party. What is your name? Answer, my name is Soi Na Ruen. President, Soi Na Ruen or Soi Sa Ruen? Answer, Soi Na Ruen. Question. Thank you, Madam Soi Na Ruen. What is your date of birth? Answer, I was born on the 7th of August 1955. President, thank you. Where is your place of birth? Answer, I was born in Swai Tiep village. Swai Tiep commune, Chamkale district, Kampong Cham province. During the old regime, they call Ochek Prey district. Question, what about your current address? Answer, my current address is at Pramatday village, Swai Tiep sub-district, Chamkale district. President, thank you. What is your current occupation? Answer, I do rice farming, and I also spend time looking after my grandchildren. President, what are the names of your parents? Answer, my father's name is Soi Chang. My mother's name is Suong Rain. Question, what is your husband's name and how many children do you have? Answer, my husband's name is Suong Pin. We have 9 children, but 2 died, so we have 7 children left. President, you come into this courtroom to express your harm and hearing and suffering. That is related to your civil party application, and the lead co-lawyer for civil party will take the floor to ask you question first. But the chamber will also give you the opportunity at the end of the hearing to talk about your harm and suffering. Now I give the floor to the lead co-lawyer for civil party to pose questions to the civil party. Now you may have the floor. Lawyer for civil party. Good. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Sen Sawon, the lawyer for civil party. I have a number of questions to put to the civil party. Madam Civil Party, good morning. I have a number of questions to put to you related to the harms and suffering that were inflicted upon you during DK regime. My first question to you is that on the 17th April of 1975, where were you and your family evacuated to, and what did you do? Answer. On the 17th of April 1975, I was evacuated from Swai Tiep village to O Tak Trachek village of O Luang commune, O Hok Pi district of Kampong Cham province. Question. Were you allowed to live together with your family, and what did you do? Answer. After the evacuation to live in O Tak Trachek village, I was separated from my family. I was assigned to clear the forest in order to create new villages in O Nuang commune. I was separated from my family to live in at the work site in O Nuang, and we were in the mobile units. In each unit there were around 20 to 30 women. At O Nuang forest I was facing a lot of suffering. I lived in the forest and I was assigned to clear the forest in order to turn the clear forest land into new villages. And we were not given enough or good equipments to cut the trees. And the trees were big. It was so difficult to cut them down. The working condition was terrible. The living condition was terrible. And as a woman, I found it very difficult to live there. For example, when I had periods, I did not have anything to assist me. And talking about the eating, in one day they gave 10 tins of rice for every unit of 20 to 30 members. My life was terrible. I had a terrible hardship. I wonder why they used me to cut big trees, but they did not give me sufficient food to eat. They gave 10 tins of rice for many people to eat, and we did not even have good shelter to live. Question. You experienced a very terrible living condition. How did you feel? Answer. I felt upset and worried. I was separated from my parents and were put in the mobile units. And I was assigned to live in the forest. I was fearful of wild animals. The forests were big, while our unit consisted of only 20 to 30 members. So every time we slept, we always felt fearful. Sometimes because of the fear, my heart were almost stopped beating. Thank you. Counsel, thank you. When did you get married? Answer. I got married in 1975. Question. Can you tell us about your marriage during DK regime in 1975? What happened at that time? Answer. I got married in 1975. I lived at the work site. I was in the female mobile unit. One day I was called to join the assembly meeting. It was at Oldmore village. It was at the time while I was building the dam. So I followed the unit chief, and when I arrived at the rest place, the unit chief told me not to wear pants to the assembly, but instead to wear some put or skirts. So I wore black skirts and had a krama around my neck. So I followed my unit chief all the way to Kampong Thmo, and when we arrived at Kampong Thmo, I saw many people were already there. So I asked the unit chief, "Comrade, why are there many people here?" And she answered, "You will know soon, because people from the upper level come to preside over the assembly." And I walked in and I saw men sitting in one row and women sitting in one row. I was suspicious, but I did not dare to ask any question. And I looked around, and then I saw a woman whom I was familiar with from Old Takrajek village. But I did not have time to talk to her, because we were not allowed to talk to each other. We were told to sit quiet. I saw some of the people I was familiar with, but I did not talk to them. So we were quiet and sit still. Later on, people from the upper level opened the assembly meeting. And they asked us to stand up and make the commitments. So each couple were required to make the commitment. So I started to know that perhaps it was a marriage ceremony. So I started to feel fearful. My body was trembling. My body was cold because I was so fearful. I kept on sitting still, but I knew that the condition inside my body was strange. So each couple there were called out to make commitment one after another. Question. President, please turn on the microphone. Question. You were called to join the assembly meeting, but later on you knew that you were brought there to get married. I want to know how many couples were arranged to get married on the day with you, and whether your parents attended the ceremony. Answer. When I was called to make the commitment on that day, none of my relatives and parents attended it, because they called me from the work site. So how could my parents and relatives knew about this? And because of this, I felt suffered. How come I was working at the work site and they called me to get married? My parents worked hard to bring me up. And when it's the time for me to get married, how come that they could not know about this? They did not know that I got married. Question. How many couples? Answer. 60 couples. Altogether, there were 60 couples, 2 couples from my village.
Dạ, con.
Question: How did you feel about your marriage because it was not attended by your parents and relatives? Answer: I felt painful. Because we were paired up without knowing each other. I did not know anything about the background of my husband, whether he was a kind person or brutal person. We did not know each other beforehand. On that day, we were paired up like the way they pair up animals. Question: Did you like your spouse? I mean the men who were matched up with you by Angka? Answer: How could I like him, because we did not know each other beforehand. We loved each other only when we had some prior relationships with each other. I did not love him at all. Question: Can you tell us about what happened on the first night of you after you made the commitment of your marriage? Did you consummate the marriage with your husbands? Answer: Allow me to tell you about what happened after I made the commitment. I was given a shelter to sleep in. There were many shelters built for the newlywed couples, and the shelter had such roof and such wall. The militiamen brought the two of us to the small shelter. Then I sat down with my hand holding my knees, and then I heard the footsteps walking back and forth. I felt fearful, and I tried to look out through the side wall. I saw between 6 and 7 militiamen walking back and forth. It was night time. I could not count the number clearly, but I can say it was around 6 militiamen. When I saw them approaching my shelter, I closed the wall, and then I kept sitting quietly. Then I heard the seemingly running or walking fast footstep. Then I looked through the wall, and I saw the militiamen about 50 meters away from my shelter. I saw 2 militiamen took a couple from the shelter away. After the militiamen took the couple away, I kept on looking, and about half an hour later, I saw the 2 militiamen came back, but I did not see the couples coming back with them. I concluded that perhaps the couples did not get along with each other. That's why they were taken away from the shelter. The militiamen continued patrolling, and then some minutes later they took away another couple. Then I thought to myself, although my body was trembling, I agreed to give my body to my husband because I saw the militiamen walking back and forth and I was trembling. Question: How did you feel when you consummate your marriage with the man whom you did not love? Answer: I felt difficult to breathe in my heart because in my whole life I never encountered such an incident. And as a Khmer woman, nothing is more important than our body. Although I was fearful and trembling, I thought to myself that I had to give my body to my husband in order to fulfill the requirement of Angkar. Question: During the time when you made the commitment, were there any people from the leadership who presided over the ceremony? And did those people in the leadership give any instruction to the couples? Answer: Yes, there were. The sector committee and the district committee and the commune chiefs and also the unit chiefs. There were many unit chiefs, but I knew only the district committee and the chief of SAW 62 or S62. I did not know the others. The Angkar called out each couple to make the commitment. They instructed us that we had to obey what Angkar assigned us to do and have to repeat what they said. And we had to love each other from the time onward and had to work hard to produce rice and to produce babies, as many as possible, in order to meet the targets of Angkar. When we had many people, we could defend our country better. So that was the instruction from the upper level people. We had to repeat those words. Question: Madam Civil Party, please give your answer short and answer according to my question. After your marriage, how many days did you spend with your husband? Answer: 3 days. Question: 3 days. So what happened after the 3 days? You and your husband separated from each other to your respective units or what? And how many days or months later that you were allowed to meet each other again? Answer: After the 3 days that we spent time together, we were required to go back to our respective units, and like once in every 1 week, we were allowed to meet each other again. Question: After you had spent 3 days with each other, and then 1 week later, you were allowed to meet each other at your mother's house. At that time, when your parents and relatives knew about your marriage, how did they feel? Answer: They felt painful, they felt regretful, because their child whom they brought up, they did not have the opportunity to attend the ceremony, the wedding ceremony. They could not accept it. They felt suffered. Question. During the time when you consummated the marriage with your husband, did you become pregnant? Answer. Yes, I had a child. I became pregnant and I had a morning sickness. Despite my morning sickness, I was still required to work. And usually, as a pregnant woman, you would usually feel that you want to eat something, but I did not have the food to eat. When my morning sickness became very severe, I missed my husband who were working at a different work site. Question. Did the pregnancy come as a result of your own planning or by accident? Answer. My pregnancy was not out of my decision or planning, but it was the target by Angka that we were required to produce children. I really did not want to be pregnant because I felt uncertain about what would happen when the baby were born. Question. Talking about your first baby, I mean the one that you had morning sickness, has that baby survived and lived until nowadays? Answer. My baby was not survived. After I was 6 months pregnant, I had a malaria. I did not have any medicines or medical treatment. And when I became 9 months, 10 days pregnant, my baby died. My baby died because I had a malaria and I did not receive any medicine or medical treatment. I asked them for medicine, but they gave me only the rabbit pellets. My baby died. I felt pitiful for him. I did not know when my baby died. I suffered terribly. I did not want to have baby because I was uncertain about what would happen when the baby were born. But because it was their policy for us to have baby. And this is the things that made me really suffered, and I cannot forget about it. Question. Because of your suffering as a result of your loss of your child, after you had lost your child, after you had delivered the baby and the baby died, how many months were you allowed to take a rest before you were sent back to work? President, please hold on. Please allow her time to calm herself down. President Council, please repeat your question. Council, thank you, Mr. President. After you had delivered the baby and the baby died,
you know if he knew that he was going to get married, or was he surprised, just as you were, when the ceremony was organized?
Later on, he told me when he was called to make a commitment, he was not aware of the arrangement.
When you ended up with these 59 other couples at the ceremony, and you understood that it was your marriage that was taking place as well, did you think about refusing to get married?
Yes, I protested for the first time before I was asked to make a commitment. I was the only person who called to this office as 62, and the chairman called me to go there alone. He says that, Comrade Soi Narun, that you are here to marry to a handicapped soldier who was wounded in the front battlefield. Then there were two handicapped soldiers who lost their legs up to the knees. I was so shocked to see them, and I shouted at the time. And at the time I forgot about the risk of being killed, and I protested that I would not marry such a person. Later on, a comrade came to me and asked me to return to the work site. So that was the first time, and I protested against it. And when I returned, I felt scared of what I did, because at that time I just simply did it, because I saw the handicapped people. At that time I shouted and I protested it. And the second time I was asked again to make the commitment. I protested it, but the upper echelon says the historical wheel was moving forward, and if somebody interferes with his arm or legs, then the arm or leg will be broken.
How much time went by between your first spontaneous refusal with and your marriage, the second marriage, or let's say the second ceremony?
For the first time, I made my protest, then I was sent to the work site, and about 2 months later, I was asked to make a commitment again.
During the wedding ceremony, were you explicitly asked, or in a devious way rather, to consummate the marriage?
No. The announcement was made for me, and I was asked to repeat the words, that is to bear as many children as possible, since Angkar needed people to defend the motherland.
When you heard that you had to bear as many children as possible, did you therefore think that it was then necessary to consummate the marriage in order to make this possible?
I thought that if I did not consummate the marriage with my husband, then my risk being taken away and killed because I already made known about my first protest. And I also saw with my own eyes some couples who were led away by the militiamen. And for that reason, I decided to consummate the marriage with my husband.
After the 3-day initial period, were you happy to see your husband each time he would come see you? Did you agree then to continue consummating the marriage, or did this, on the contrary, upset you? And did you have other feelings?
When he came to meet me, that is after a week, we were allowed to spend a night together. I did not have any good or excited feeling toward him at all. My feeling was that I did not want to live with him. However, since everything was over, then I just let myself go in a natural way as a man and a woman.
You said that you did not want to become pregnant, but when you became pregnant, did you enjoy better living conditions than the other women? Did you work less? Did you eat more? Did you have any time to rest?
No. It became even more difficult for me when I became pregnant. I could not eat the mixed gruel. Sometimes I vomited after I consumed the gruel. It was a very difficult period during this pregnancy. I became so skinny and I was not allowed to rest. I had to work. And if somebody got sick, then we were accused of being sick psychologically.
Given the circumstances and the death of your first baby, when you understood that you were pregnant the second time, were you anguished because of this?
Yes, I was anguished, and for my second pregnancy, I worked even harder, and I had a fear every day during the second pregnancy because I was afraid that the baby would die, as in the case of my first baby. However, in late 77, I delivered my child, who was very skinny due to lack of nutrition. Luckily, the child survived and he is still living now.
I am almost done. Among your friends of the same age as you are, or among the members of your family, did some of these people also get married under the DK regime? And if that is the case, can you explain to us under which circumstances these people got married?
In late 1978, my younger sibling was arranged to get married in an event where 60 couples got married. And that happens to my blood younger sibling. And there were no relatives attending the wedding as well.
And did this younger sibling tell you how the marriage took place? Was his was his marriage similar to the marriage that you underwent in terms of ceremony, etc.? And can you tell us if this sibling also agreed to get married?
Yes, the marriage took place under the same condition, and it might even be worse, because during my wedding, that it happened in 1975, that is not long after Phnom Penh had been liberated, and I suffered already. So it will be worse for those who got married in late 78, because by that time many people had been killed. And I pained the most by that time.
And could you tell us, please, who this sibling was, who this younger sibling was? Was she a sister or was he a brother? And where did this sibling get married?
It was my younger sister, and the marriage took place at the place where I got married, that is at Old Mall.
Based on what you said to the President, you are still married with Mr. Sung Ping, with whom you were forced to get married under the DK regime. So why, after 1979, did you decide to stay with him?
After the liberation year, I decided to remain in the relationship because I had a pity for my child who was born during the war time. And as a Cambodian woman, I do not want to see my child having a second father, or for me to have a second husband. And for that reason, I remained in a relationship, although my feeling hurt. Everything was done for the sake of my child. And I tried to survive with the pains that I carry every day.
Thank you very much for having answered my questions. We have no further questions, Mr. President.
President, thank you. And the floor is now given to Nunchi's defense. Council, thank you, Mr. President. Again, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Madam Civil Party. My name is Lee Sawana. I'm the National Council for Nunchi's defense, and I have some questions to put to you. In the area that you lived, when was the area liberated? That is when Democratic Cambodia liberated your area. And I cannot recall it. However, it happened in around 1975. And on 17 April 75, I was evacuated from my native village to another village. Question, in order to refresh your memory, I refer to document E3/5009, which is the victim information form. Khmer EN is at 00559307, and there is no English translation. You state the following: in 1974, my family worked at Otatrakia village, Odung commune, and we were forced to work non-stop, and we were given insufficient food to eat. So in this document you mentioned the year of 1974, that you were forced to work in Old village and not in your native village. Does that jog your memory as to when your area was liberated? Answer: I cannot recall it because when I was at Old that is after I was evacuated, and that happened after the liberation. And in late 1974, I lived and worked in village mobile units, that is building dams and dike. Question: so when you built dam and dike in late 1974, did you work in the liberated zone or in the government-controlled zone? Answer: I built dams and raised dike in late 1974, and that was still under the colonial regime. At that time, Phnom Penh had not yet been liberated. Later on, I was sent to work at Old village, and I also did the same kind of work. Question: my question is not about the when Phnom Penh was liberated. I want to ask about the village where you lived and as to when it was liberated. And at that time, was it still under the control of the colonial government, or was it under the control of those liberated group? Answer: I'd like to clarify the following. When I arrived at Old village, that is the area had, I was there for a few days, and Phnom Penh was liberated. Question: you made mention that you were born in 1975, and do you recall the actual date of your wedding? Answer: I cannot recall it. During the regime, I did not have any calendar to refer to. Question: do you recall whether it happened during a rainy season or a dry season, or was it towards the end of the year? Answer: if you ask about the season, I can recall it, but I cannot recall the date. And it happened during the windy season. Question: in response to the prosecutor question, you said that you were sent to see someone, and that you went started to marry a handicapped person who lost his legs. You protested it, and then you returned to work at a work site. Did you return to the same work site, or did you go to another work site? Answer: no, it was not at the same work site, because office as 62 had many work sites. Question: my question is specific, that is, after you made your protest known, were you instructed to return to work at the place where you previously worked? Answer: after I made my protest, I was sent to work at Chambok Miher work site. I was there for 2 to 3 weeks, and then I was transferred to build a dam in another work site. at the village. Question. When you were forced to get married for the first time, you made your protest and nothing happened. And why did you not make a protest again for the second arrangement? Answer. I did make my protest, but the unit chief told me not to say anything and to shut my mouth. I said that I did not want to get married because I did not know the man, but the unit chief who used to control my work in all work sites instructed me to follow Angkar's instructions and not to protest, not to make any protest. So, as I said, my first protest was spontaneous, and for the second time I made my protest again, but I was warned that if I made a spontaneous protest or shouted again, then I would risk myself. Question. For your second time and that you made your protest, how many days it happened before the actual wedding day? Answer. It happened when I walked and arrived at Old Mall wedding venue. How could I make any protest earlier because I didn't know about the arrangement? Question. A while ago you said that people who changed the wedding, including the district committee whom you knew, can you tell the chamber what is the name and whether the person was male or female? Answer. It was Comrade Moon. And Khan was in charge of our office as 62. Jane was the commune chief. Madre was my unit chief. And Ree was the only female, the rest were all men. Question. Was he the district chief or a deputy chief or a member of the district committee? Answer. I did not know whether he was the secretary of the district committee or not. I only knew that Moon was a chief in the district. He was the top leader in the district. Question. And please tell the court the district named. Answer. It district as 62. Question. Does it have a proper name or does it only have this code as 62? Answer. I did not know because when I was evacuated to the area, we were told that we were there at office as 62, district as 62, or Nuong commune. Question. And also a while ago you said that you saw two couples led away by militiamen. Did you observe the couples as well as the militiamen who took the two couples away that night? Answer. I did not see their faces because it was a night time. They used a bamboo torch, so I could see some light, but I could not see the faces clearly. Question. If you could not see the faces, how could you conclude that those people were the newly wedded couples? Answer. because when I looked through the crack of the wall, I knew that the rooms that I stay was only for newly wedded couples building. Question. And how come you only made mention of this point now, and why in your document E3/5009 at Khmer EN 00559307 you did not mention this? You only mentioned that at night time militiamen came to eavesdrop at the houses as they wanted to know whether we obeyed the instructions from Angkar. If they knew that we did not follow the instructions of Angkar, then they would take measures against us. Why in that victim information form you did not make mention that that night militiamen threw people away? Could you clarify it? And so allow me to clarify it. When I lodged my first complaint, and subsequently I cannot recall every single detail 24 hours per day, since I sometimes forget, and later on it came back to me, and I recall that during the time there were militiamen and people were led away, but during the time that I filled that application form, I cannot recall it. Question. Yes, in the document you made mentions about the militiamen, and how come such important point was not mentioned in that application form? Answer. I forgot about it because I could only recall about the militiamen, but later on I recall that when the militiamen went to the area, two couples were later away, and for that reason I asked for supplementary information form. Due to the interest of time, allow me to ask you my last question. A while ago, you stated that you lost 11 relatives. Why in your victim information form, again E3/5009 in section C, where you were asked about the harms and sufferings and losses that you endured, you did not mention that 11 of your relatives lost their lives, and how come only now you mention that you lost 11 relatives, and you failed to mention this point when you applied as a civil party in this case? Answer. When I apply as a civil party, I firstly focus about my suffering and my forced marriage, and later on I learned that as a victim due to the loss of relatives during the regime, I made another application to add that fact to it. In my first application, I made mention that I suffered from forced marriage, and later on, through my discussion with some organizations to ask whether victims of the regime who lost their relatives, what they could do, is it possible to add that fact to the previous application? So I consulted with other organizations, since I did not understand the process that well. Then I made my supplementary application form, Council, and in the interest of time, in document E3, for proper record, in document E3/5009, civil party does not also make mention of the forced marriage as harm she suffered. And President, I don't have any more questions. President, what about case of positive defense? Do you have any questions to put to this civil party? Mr. President, I don't have any further questions or any question to put to the civil party. President, thank you. And Madam Soy Narun, the Chamber is grateful of your presence. And the hearing of the impact statement is now concluded. And we wish you good health and good luck. And one last point, Madam Civil Party, if you wish to make a statement, you can do so now. Civil Party. Mr. President, I have two questions to put. The first question is the following. And I'd like Mr. President to direct it to the accused why they use people like animals and they were given insufficient food to eat. What about the rice that people work day and night to produce? Where is it? Or where was it sent to? And my second question, why there was such a law to force people to marry others whom they never knew? Why there was such law? Because the law came out of the feeling, and not from such law. These are the two questions, Mr. President. Thank you. President, are you asking me as the President of the Chamber, or are you asking the accused through me? President, Mr. Civil Party, maybe my word is not clear. I put the question to the accused through you, the President. President, thank you. And Madam Soy Narun, the Chamber wishes to inform you that in the substantive proceedings in case 002/02 from the early period, Nunchi and Keo Sampon exercised their right to remain silent. And also on the 8th of January 2015, the accused reaffirmed their position, and so far the Chamber has not received any information as they changed their position regarding the right to remain silent, and the Chamber cannot compel the accused to answer any questions based on national and international laws, and that is also stipulated in the internal rules of the ECCC. And the Chamber is grateful of your testimony. The hearing of the impact statement is concluded, and you may return to your residence or wherever you wish to go through. And the Chamber is also grateful of Mr. Bon Lam Hu for your assistance through the civil parties during the impact statement, and you also may be excused. The Chamber will take a break now and return at 1:30 this afternoon to continue our proceedings. Security personnel, you are instructed to take Keo Sampon to the waiting room downstairs and have him return to attend the proceedings this afternoon before 1:30. The court stands in recess.